I call this channel Culture Wars Diplomacy because I was kind of sick what was happening. I'd see various social controversies and be like, this is stupid. And I'd often pick the side that I felt like wanted to be offended so they can virtue signal. And that's usually the side I don't pick. If you're getting fruity because there's a picture of a bunch of orcs playing in a family setting versus an attacking setting in a D&D book, I think you're stupid. I think it's a stupid controversy. If if you just don't like the picture and depending on how you say it, it's like, okay, I get that. Anyway, the other one was if you think the name of race should be changed to species, that's fine if you make it through a constructive method. But as for calling it racist, here's the reality. We use the word race to define human race and each individual ethnic group. So trying to police language to that degree just makes you an idiot. That being said, in 2024, we just had an election with a relatively surprising result with the win of Trump. To my Democratic friends, I'm going to explain this why this happened. Everything you try to do was perceived as you wound up looking bad. You claim the economy's good. People see there how much things cost today, they don't believe you. They see how big their paychecks are compared to the rate of inflation. They don't believe you. They you blame President Trump for the bad economy that Biden supposedly inherited while backing the policies that put us in that position in the first place and keeping the guy in charge of the pandemic and having him represent the government on the pandemic even after you switched presidency. So you didn't change anything. It was the same people. And then you blame Trump. And also, Democratic states were keeping a lot of this stuff longer than many other states decided that it was time to take the risk, move on, so we can get back to our lives. Also, you talk about threats to democracy, and yet you are using lawfare to try and put the man in prison for winning and being a jerk. The New York crime for paying off Stormy Daniels. How much he knew, how much he didn't know about what he was paying for, I have no idea and I don't care. And a lot of people don't care. The fact is, calling that falsifying business records and making it a felony when it requires the covering up of another felony seems odd when the only felony he was charged with in the attempted cover up was not labeling his payments correctly. He was not, there was not an accusation in the actual charges of some felony to be covered up. And as for the federal charges, the federal investigators said there wasn't crimes to investigate. They couldn't find the existence of a crime, much less whether he was guilty of it. And then there's the whole situation with his bank loan. Again, the people that gave him the bank loan weren't complaining. They're like, dude, we're cool. It's Trump. He has the money. We knew we were going to get paid back. And the math he used, they're arguing it was different than the math the state says should have been the math. And so, whether that's by the way I understand it, and I'm a layman, he was promising, he was saying that that property can produce X amount of money. They're saying to sell the property, it will cost this amount of money. That's the simplified version of what was being said. And me, being a relative layman, that's probably what a lot of people heard. Now, things like border. We heard uh we heard our we heard Kamala Harris be called the border czar. We heard the president give her that task. We seen her go down to the border. And suddenly, when it's no longer valuable for the Democrats, she's being told, oh, I was never the border czar. That's misinformation. And the entire concept of misinformation and and disinformation not being protected by the First Amendment. If we don't trust the government to tell us the truth, we don't trust the government to decide what is true information for the purposes of deciding what the First Amendment does not protect as mis and disinformation. So, what it comes down to is I don't think Trump won as so much as held up a mirror to bad behavior by him being essentially a jerk with a big mouth. As for the insurrection, there wasn't one. It was at best a riot. There's reports that he supposedly offered the National Guard, but were turned down. He wasn't actually there. The accusation that part of the insurrection was all the lawsuits, they were lawsuits that he lost and was pretty much, oh wow. He took it to the courts. The courts said there's not enough evidence. He took it to the VP. The VP said, I don't think I'm even allowed to do this. He lost. He eventually conceded he lost, even if he argued that some of the policy changes for that election were flawed. Now, if you think I got anything wrong, maybe I did. But that's the perception. And I think the perception in this case is probably closer to reality.